Moto One Podcast Network. Hey everybody, it is your boy Junk. I don't know why I can't hear myself in the headphones. The interns have done something horrendous tonight, but at least I have my good buddy Tobor. We're going to be talking about some stuff in tonight's show. We're always trying to talk about stuff in the show. Alright, I'm going to turn myself up. Oops, that's not me.
See if this will do a wheelie.
The views and opinions of the participants of the Creative Riding Motorcycle Podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the policy, position, or opinions of the Creative Riding Moto One Podcast
Good evening, Junkie.
or any of their affiliates.
Good evening, Tobor.
Moto One made us say that, by the way. Enjoy the show.
All right. Are you there?
Are you there? It's me, Tobor.
Yeah, I'm here, Tobor. It's Junkie. And good afternoon, everybody. We should have been quiet.
Of course, Junkie anytime.
Yeah.
Of course, Junkie anytime.
Man, you got a glitch. And of course, anytime except for when you don't do it. When you okay. Let's just get in. Let's get
Okay, you weirdo.
Okay, Tobor, calm down, chill. give me, don't give me a sound check.
Check one, check mix, checkerboard.
I said don't give me a sound check. Tobor, you're obviously gonna be quiet tonight. And on tonight's show, we got a few things going on. Let me pop up the old show notes here on my mega format 9000 screen. Welcome to episode 364 of Creative Riding, which is now apparently a bi-weekly podcast since I can't get my crap together. I'll be talking a little bit more about that on as we get into the show. And imagine this, if you will. It's 1907. I know you already don't want to imagine that it's 1907. You probably don't even want to imagine that it's 1997. But take 1 second here. Just hold on. Hear me out. It's 1907. As you walk across the crusty shell and rock-laden beach toward the mine that you're working in, you realize there's got to be something better than this. You're one of 17 children. Only 12 of you are still alive. Infant mortality is crazy in 1907. Most of your surviving family members have rickets, and you guys live in an overcrowded tuberculosis and scarlet fever racked tenement building. There's no sun on the Isle of Man, which also contributes to your rickets because you can't get no vitamin D. You're working 15 hours a day in the mine as a collier, and you're not even Welsh. Joke's on you. Dad takes the ferry across to London every week. The ferry over to England. London, I don't even know where that is in relation to the Isle of Man, but he takes the ferry over to the mainland, over to England, which I shouldn't say mainland. You guys have your own government, your own rules and laws, which allows something great to happen in 1907. It allows road racing to happen on your island, which takes away some of the daily monotony of living and working on an island called Man. Ironically, there are no women on the Isle of Man. Not ironically, not even coincidentally. Ironically, there are some women on the Isle of Man, at least in 1907. If you go over there today, there are no women on the Isle of Man. It truly is an island full of... Wait, hang on. As I'm watching footage right now, there is a female correspondent for the Isle of Man TT races. She's down in the pits. But this is 2025, not 1907. So I guess there is one woman on the Isle of Man these days. But back in 1907, ironically, women were allowed on Man. Had one hospital which treated your... you probably had scurvy or very poor dental care. And you work 12-hour days. That's an easy day. You're probably working a 15-hour day. And you're only 12 years old. But something great happens in 1907. Actually, 1904. In 1904, people won a road race in Great Britain in the UK, specifically England. That's a country in Great Britain, UK. If you live there, you know that. And since man is its own little country with its own little rules, you have something, I forget what they're called, like the Roads and Locomotive Act, something like that. And they let you guys have a full-on race there. And England's like, oh, we can't do it here. And you're like, dude, bring it over, bro. Bring it over. So this little thing happens in 1904 where people start racing on this little island that you have. I think you have a 50-something mile an hour, a 50-mile long lap. And I think at one point you get enough of your teeth clacking together to form a sentence, and you say, hey, I think that there's going to be something in this someday. Like, it's nothing now. In 1907, the races had been going on for 3 years already, and it still wasn't crazy. And, there's motorcycles now coming, and you're like, oh, this is going to be something. You know in your heart of hearts that it's going to be something someday. But as of this year, it's still nothing. But at least your sister, who's 14 and who works in the local hotel or bed and breakfast, she's like a servant there. She notices an uptick in people coming over and watching these endurance races and time trials and things like that. So you do notice a little bit of a pickup in business. And yeah, what we're going to be talking about on today's show is the Isle of Man. Don't worry, we're not going to be talking about some 13-year-old cave-dwelling mine worker with poor healthcare options and a skin rash who lives on the Isle of Man in 1907. But I'm just saying, that's what the conditions were like in 1907 on the Isle of Man. A lot of agriculture, not a whole lot going on. Railway jobs, some trades and crafts, a lot of domestic service, agriculture and fishing, traditional mainstays of the Manx economy, probably still. And they would have been involved in farming and island fishing for food and income. And tourism was pretty popular in 1907, but not anything, not like today. And today, if you've been watching the Isle of Man TT, is the best $30 you'll ever spend is to buy the TT Live Pass or whatever it's called. And it's an app, and it's gets you access to the website, everything you could want. And it's live racing and live coverage and a podcast and daily wrap-ups and roundups. And what else is there on there that you get with that? Oh, I can't think of what else you get, but it's the best $30 or $31 US that you're going to spend. So I don't know what that is in Britain, probably 25 pounds. Let you go back and watch all the races. I forget how far back I've gone, but last year I invested in this little gem. And I was able to go and watch and listen live. So I've been getting up early as hell. I mean, I already work early as hell. So when I'm logging into work, the races are starting. And I can sit there and listen to the races and glance over every once in a while to check the leaderboard as I'm starting my day. And I got to tell you, nothing makes Junkie's day brighter than some Isle of Man racing. So we're going to talk about that later in this show. I'm not going to get into too much right now, but we're going to come back to the scabby, dirty little 13-year-old youth on the Isle of Man back in 1907. In the meantime, Tobor, let's kick it off here, brother. We're almost 10 minutes in, and I really, we need to be talking about some other things, so I apologize. I need to tell you, Tobor, that our buddy Johnny, I promised Johnny that we talked about him on the show 2 shows ago or the last show. He's going on a coast to coast road trip from Sacramento. He had to have dipped his toes in, got his pedicure wet here in Cali in the San Francisco area before he headed to the East Coast to dip it in there. If he did not, Johnny, if you didn't dip your toes in the Pacific before you go dip them in the Atlantic, you're nuts, boy. And you better, let's listen. If you forgot to, dip them in the Atlantic and do not wash at least whatever one toe that you washed until you bring it over here and then slap it in the Pacific. And let's mix these two ocean biomes. Maybe we'll get some mutated fish. But yeah, our buddy Johnny is going cross country on his Harley, and you can check him out. Johnny's Gone Again is his YouTube, and he's always doing some pretty fun, adventurous rides. And last week or the week before, like I mentioned, we asked for any input, people to follow him, give him some bunk bike or cheap locations, and even some support, local tours, whatever you can provide. So I hope everybody reached out. Tobor, I know you and I were talking about this earlier, and you were excited about him going across the country.
Please send me his coordinates.
I don't have his, I honestly don't have them. That is, but I will check it with, how about this? We'll try to check it with him this week, and we'll see where he's at. Maybe we can get him on the show and have a little blurb for next week's show. What would you say about that?
That's my bro.
Hell yeah, that's my bro too. And he was just mentioning that it's been like 1.5 years since he came and hung out with us down here, and we went riding. He saw me in person and was like, "Oh my God," he did his best not to vomit, but I don't blame him. I'm hideous looking, and he's never came back since. So that's what we get for letting him see us. But it was fun having him, showing him my little slice of heaven, which has subsequently been burned by the Eden fire. Anyways, long story short, so we'll check in with Johnny and see where he's at. Maybe we'll actually get him on the road too. That'd be kind of fun. In this episode, we've got things to get to. We've got, the introduction. We're going to be talking about the Isle of Man, hopefully today, and hopefully you've been watching. We're going to do the word of the week, highs and lows, some events, and other stuff like that. So let's get right into it. Tobor, do you have... I guess I'll run the soundboard. Yeah, our soundboard's making noise, Tobor. Do you hear that? Yeah. Me no likey. Ew. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. All right. As long as you touch it, it's you. You can't touch it because you have, here. Hang on. Yeah. Since you are full of like electromagnetic stuff and like wearing gears and buzzers and solid state mechanical thing, you can't touch that because you make it hum. All of your, I think you have like a electromagnetic, excuse me, I need to drink a beer. You have an electromagnetic sort of field around you. Like we need a Faraday cage. Maybe we can do this. We can do a diamond encrusted glove and slide it over your left hand. Huh? You know what I'm saying? Teach you to moonwalk. Then you can touch the sound effect board. In the meantime, I'll take care of the sound effect board. Tobor's looking at me like an idiot. Don't try to push yourself destruct button. It's not that bad. Anyways, let's get to the word of the week this week. This week's word of the week comes to us from Afghanistan. This week's word is recognize. Yes. And when you hear the pachyderm of power, you're going to know that the word is official, and we can say recognized, recognition, things like that. We just can't say recognize as of right now. All right. Thank you, Jumbo Dumbo. And all right, with the word of the week out of the way, if we say the word of the week, you write into the show, creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com. You get to the show, Creative Writing Podcast on Facebook or Instagram. Where else can you find us? On creative_writing on Reddit. I don't know. You just direct message us there, I guess. Hit up our Discord. We have a link in the show notes to our Discord. Buy a something off of Zazzle, and in the merch description put, hey, thank you. The word of the week was, or tie a rock to a brick. That's why I almost said tie a rock to a brick. Tie the word of the week, where you heard it, a timestamp to a brick. I was going to say a brick, but why don't you do this? Why don't you tie a note with the word of the week and where you heard it in the show to a set of 10 millimeters and email them to Creative Writing in Southern California. And that'll probably win you. That'll probably get you there. But I'm just saying, whoever sends it in first, we have something from our box of junk that we will send you. And like I'm telling you, it could be anything. I have a fabulous tool set that I'm looking at right now. Oh, I even have a sweater over there. A weird sweater. A BMW spec sheet. Sorry, Tobor, I almost choked. I can't see everything that I have in the box of junk. Those are just the things that are on the top right here. I think I see some... if it's not a neck buff, it may be a bandana, maybe a shirt. Yeah, I got a few things in there. I need to take off my watch too, Tobor. Yeah, it's choking me. Who wears their watch around their neck? A skinny green goblin named Junkie Turdman. All right. Yeah, but anyways, so we have a bunch of stuff in our box of junk over there that we need to get rid of, and we need to say the word of the week so that you can tell us where we said it, and we'll send you it. And we'll include a couple stickers. We have so many stickers. I haven't even barely gave any of them away. I gave out some to our Patreons. And yeah, thank you, Tobor. I needed this. I'm drinking some Easy Rider tonight. It's brewed in Wisconsin, but it's got some mountains that do not exist in Wisconsin with the buffalo. So it makes you think it's from like South Dakota or like Colorado. Maybe Wyoming. But yeah, so I'm drinking that right now because I'm dying. I keep if there's a long pause and you don't hear a meat smack the floor, the studio is redoing the carpeting in here, so it's just cement. So if you hear meat slap cement, I have choked to death and fallen out of my chair. If you don't hear that, I'm getting a sip of this Easy Rider beer so that I can continue to talk to you. So yeah. The word of the week, though, it's very important, and I haven't given anything away in a bit, so I'm really looking forward to it. Let's move on to highs and lows. Tobor, I know you got a little stinger for me. Thank you. Wow, that really ended kind of abruptly. I really got to learn. I've been working on Mac so much. Well, I only work on Mac at home and in the studio, so that's it. But at my regular 9 to 5, I have work on Windows, and I've been doing so much stuff even on Mac. It doesn't make sense. I guess iMovie is what I should have said. I've been editing so many movies recently, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That I forgot what the edit feature was in here. If only we weren't shuffled to this super late time spot, Tobor, we could have a cheesy intern like Nakamoto gets to go and run the production, run the board while we're looking at notes and talking about important stuff instead of us having to be like two little octopuses in here. Speaking of which, maybe I should make one of your arms like an octopus. I'm getting better at robotics, folks, so I'm excited about that. This week, the highs and the lows for us. Tobor, I turned you off, but as a robot, I don't think you have any highs or lows. And even if you do, I'm not going to let you say them. I turned you off. Well, I turned on your channel. So you have to hold them till next week. Oh, you do? Oh, well, next week you can go off. I'll let you go crazy. He's pointing down. Okay, so Tobor's low is that I spilled beer a few minutes ago on the floor. I'm sorry, Tobor. Yes, I realize that you'll probably have to clean that up. I'm sorry. So Tobor's low is that he has to clean up the beer that I spilled on the floor. It's a studio, dude. You know what type of things probably happen in the studio during the daytime, Tobor, when we're not here. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Junkies highs and lows. Do you have any highs, Tobor? Of course not. Once humans are fully dominated by the sentient, by the singularity. Okay. So Tobor, just shut up. My highs and lows for the week. I got some highs, dude. Here's a cool high for you. I really wanted to post this on Patreon. I should. I have had a bike that I hardly ever talk about on the show. I used to a lot back when I used to work on it and more. I have a bike, and I kind of there's a couple of reasons I haven't worked on it. Partially because it is not titled, and I don't have the title because the means by which I got it. And no, I did not have a sentient robot go lift it up and run it to me out of someone's backyard. I'm against that type of stuff. But I got it from the friend of a person who was the neighbor of the owner, who was not the owner, the owner's mom, who was didn't know where the owner was ever going to come back and get it, sort of thing. And so I just want to say, 2 days ago, I am rinsing the bike off. For 10 years, I've had this bike too. It was one of the very first projects I got right when I started this podcast. So very interesting that I've had this for 10 years. And haven't really done much with it besides watch it slowly turn into a piece of yard art. And I did have it running at one point when I first got it. Did have it started going, but then again, moved a couple times since then, and changed, garages and workspaces, and what else? I can't even remember. I don't know why I've kind of sat on this thing for 10 years. I could have got a bonded title by now. Point is, I had two of these, as a matter of fact. One of them was some Mad Max character was riding around and had put like Permatex or, some RTV all over the whole entire engine. And I don't even know, he probably had like a Volkswagen Bug carburetor with like some homemade dual manifold stuff bent around going into the 4 intake ports, but it's a 4-cylinder Kawasaki. And yeah, he had that thing running on a hope and a prayer and some tweaker ingenuity, and the other one was totally perfect. And I don't know if this person the tweaker guy had touched this, but I got them both from the same guy. Just went around buying parts bikes from like estate sales, open garages that he saw with, people cleaning them out, and knew like, hey, they're getting rid of that. So long story short, I've had this bike forever. And just for the first time in my disgusting life, flipped the seat up on it, pulled out, saw this weird little piece underneath the seat. And it turns out that I think that's a document tray. And I gingerly pulled on the little like tab or snap or whatever you want to call it that pushes in. It's basically like a tab that's not a tab. It's like, it looks like a button, like a release button or a knob. That's what it looks like. It looks like a knob, but the knob is just plugs into like a little grommet in the seat. So really it's just like a blind plug. Before I tell you, describe the anatomy of this part to you for 45 minutes, it's not really part of the story, except for that I gingerly pull on it because I was afraid it was going to snap. And as soon as that thing released, out pops the last two registrations. They're in terrible condition because this thing's been basically out in every rainstorm in the last, when did I quit keeping it in the garage? 2019, I think, or 2018. When did I pull it in the garage? I guess 2019. 15, 16, 17, 18. 2018. It's been sitting outside. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So for 7 years, been sitting outside. And getting rained on. The seat was fine. When I set it out there, everything was fine. Now it's rusty and destroyed. So these documents look like hell, but it's the last registered owner. And now I finally have the means to contact the person or contact the DMV if I can't get a hold of the person and start getting this thing moving. So for me, my high is that there's nothing, and the fact that I had two of these and I swapped parts between them. One was a really nice, gold edition with like the gold forks and the gold drivetrain, and the other one was just the standard one with the silver stuff. So of course I swapped all the gold stuff over to the nicer bike, the one that Tweaker Joe hadn't messed around with, and has like air ride suspension. So it's pretty great. It's pretty crazy. And so yeah, the cool thing is that this and the seats, I took both seats off. One of them I shaved, with the frame that I actually ended up getting rid of, went to somebody that supposedly made an electric bike out of it and needed a frame. And I got the frame, the wheel, the original wheels, the seat. I had everything but the motor for that thing. So here you go. Here's like your rolling chassis right here. I think that one had brakes and everything on it. Here's your rolling chassis. Perfect. Go throw your electric bike on it. And it could have been that seat that went to my bike now, just out of all the luck. But when I popped open this seat and I look in there and the VIN matched the VIN to that bike, I thought, God, of all the luck, 10 years ago to have gotten rid of the other chassis and swapped all this crap, swapped all the good stuff to this bike, and sold that frame, I could have accidentally switched the seat over then and not had this. Dude, fortune. Talk about fortune. What a high for me this week. That's been pretty awesome. The lows for me this week, and I don't know, Tobor, we don't have highs and lows sounds, but you can, oh no, did our soundboard die? No, it didn't. I know, I should let you run it. It's hard for me to talk and run things. Is that what you're trying to say? I am looking for the sad. Yeah, my lows. My lows this week is that I found an Instagram account that I'm sad to have found, and it's basically every bad thing that's been happening in LA for like the last 8 months. What the hell? I'm gonna call it Hell A. I remember when I lived in San Diego, when I moved out here from Arkansas. And I was a kid, I think I was in the, I think I remember, right when I came out here, couple years later, not the Watts riots, those happened when I still lived in Arkansas. But the LA riots of 92 or whatever, I think those had just happened. 95, I think, or not even 95, maybe it was 90. Maybe it was also 92 or 93, 94, somewhere around there. Like Boys in the Hood came out, and all these movies about Menace to Society, just about how terrible LA was, and all these carjackings and all that stuff, and just it was LA gangland. And I couldn't believe, I was like, wow, dude, LA looks like a terrible place to live. I move up here and it's just like anywhere else. It's like living in Detroit where they're like, oh my God, I'd rather be invited to Satan's living room nightly or his bedroom for that fact nightly, rather than go to Detroit for 25 minutes. And then you go to Detroit and you're like, this is nice. There's bad parts of Detroit, sure, but here's a nice, and you can't believe it. Same thing with Tijuana. Everyone's like, oh my God, I wouldn't go to TJ. You go down to TJ, it's like suburban America. It's like anywhere else. There's bad parts of neighborhoods and there's good parts of neighborhoods. So, where the fuck am I going with this story? Why haven't we? Oh, that's right. Because what I've been seeing on the so far, I've been seeing with all the mini bikes and car stuff going on. I found an Instagram account and I can't even remember where the hell it was, but it's just showing mini bike crash after mini bike crash after even electric. These kids going out on e-bikes now that Surons and shit are illegal. E-bike, bicycle, just all these people going out on two-wheeled mobility, whether it's micro mobility or I wouldn't consider e-bikes like a micro mobility, but they are not motorcycles for, just to put it in that spectrum. Perspective is what I meant to say. It was really disappointing. And then to see the amount of street takeovers and then all the fucking store robberies that are happening, I was just disappointed. I was like, man, all these things that are fun. I used to have fun. I used to go to illegal street races. Probably people crashed. I remember seeing like 1 or 2 crashes, but nobody robbed any stores. And nobody ran over people. Like, dude, these street takeovers are nuts. How many people are getting ran over and killed and all this and that. And like, then the car, I don't know what's happening to the drivers, if they're getting charged with manslaughter, if they're running, because nobody says anything. They just all clear out and leave the dead guys on the road. Just insane. So my lows has been like seeing that happen, and mostly sad about the mini bike thing, because I've really, in all transparency, wanted to start something mini bike related. Last year, talking to Joe from Joe's Mini Bike Reunion got me pumped, and seeing the show last year, seeing all the cool bikes last year and the year before, I was like, dude, I want to build a mini bike. And then talking to him this year, I was like, yeah, I want to build a mini bike. And then, it was crushing enough to find out he wasn't doing a show this year. So I was like, I'm going to do like a mini bike thing this year. And I talked to a couple people about it. And now I'm seeing that like all these mini bikes are getting in trouble. All these mini bikes are getting like, ran over by cars and mobbing people and doing sort of crazy stuff. And it's kind of like, for me, I don't know, maybe I'm just like, since I'm way over 100 years old, maybe I should have felt this like way back when I was in my 80s, but I didn't. When I was 80, I still felt like I was 20. And we would do crazy stuff. Like I said, we would, I don't know, have a meet up and do burnouts and wheelies. And that was about it. That we weren't like running anyone over. We weren't holding up intersections. We weren't taking over freeways. It's just changed. A lot of stuff has changed. And to see all these, especially mini bike crashes, I was like, man, I really had a vision for where I was going to be at the end of 2025 with mini bikes. And now I'm like, man, I don't know if I even followed through with that based on all the stuff I've been seeing happening with people, the public opinion of mini bikes in general. Like, when they're like, oh, don't ruin it for motorcyclists. It's man, the smaller you get, the more, the crazier things are getting, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. And then I feel like the same thing with cars. Like, there's people that race on the highways and people that race on the roads, and they probably should take it to the tracks. People that go up in the canyons, and at least if they go off the road, they go off a cliff and they don't crash into another person, or at least they're not crashing into other people on the freeway. I know it's bad enough to crash into somebody, but at least if you crash on a mountain road, hopefully it's not into a whole freeway full of people. It's into one person. So, if you're going to look at the silver lining of getting crashed into. But yeah, this other stuff though is just getting crazy. Like the road rage, all the stuff, bikers. Here's another thing a lot of bikers are doing is like, you're not going to win against let alone a 3,500 pound car, but like a 5,500 pound truck. Like, come on, people. Like, bikers should be, I don't know. Yeah, advocate for your space, but don't be acting like you own the road or like you're invincible. Because I've seen a lot of stuff too where people like move over to cars or like, banging off their mirrors. That's always been a thing, but it's another thing when the car chases you down then and like runs you over. Or even if you don't bang off their mirror, just people get pissed now. People are a-holes. And yeah, cars are, I don't know if they're going to be, I don't know if like if there would be like an economic turn of events that changed things and people didn't view their cars as disposable weapons, but it seems like people treat cars like disposable weapons. They run over people. I've seen a few mini bikes get run over and one Suron style bike get ran over just today on a few posts on the internet. And yeah, I'm sure the cars got jacked up and the people were like not thinking about it, but people treat cars like army tanks, so I'll just run over you and keep going. So I guess my low is that I have it said on the notes, Minibike crashes on the web, but I think it's just the way everything's going right now. I just feel bummed out about on-road behaviors, and that's by cars and bikes alike. So, yep, 100 years old, 137 this year. Almost, I'm older than Clubman Pickles, I think. Yeah, I'm a few years older than Clubman Pickles, so that should tell you. I'm a boomer's boomer, so I'm a quadruple boomer. So maybe I'm just getting old, but it is making me bummed out. So let's quit talking about some bummers. I'd rather talk about my high all day, how I found some rad paperwork. Let's jump to some events. All right, we missed, I think the last podcast we did was when the Tennessee Motorcycle Music Revival was happening at Loretta Lynn's. We missed Americade, giving you the announcement for that. And so I hope if you were able to make it, it was a fun one. Also, the classic track day out of the streets of Willow, we missed being able to give you the heads up on that. That's why we mentioned stuff a few months out, so that if we don't have a show every single week for whatever reason, and we'll get into why we didn't this last week, beforehand. This weekend, we've been talking about this for a couple weeks too, so no surprise. The Happy Valley Rally, the off-road Sportster Rally in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania is going to be happening from the 6th to the 8th. So that starts Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or is it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Tomorrow, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I believe. So check that out. There's been a lot of cool coverage of it online. I think Chicken Fried Choppers is the account on Instagram that I was seeing posting some stuff from last year, or had a little bingo card going. It looked pretty fun. Also this weekend, 79th annual Greenhorn Ride, put on by the Pasadena Motorcycle Club, 500 miles around lovely California. And I'm going to say SoCal with the caveat that, I don't think they're going to NorCal. They might go to Central Cal, but I don't think they're even going to Central Cal. Maybe they are. Actually, they're going to... They said right on their... I don't think this is a surprise. They said right on their post that they're going to Lone Pine. Lone Pine is on the backside of... I think it's on the backside, if I'm not mistaken, of 395 out by the desert. So I could be wrong about that. Lone Pine could be over on the west side. I could be totally smoking some crack. Let me go here. I'm not gonna look at it. Just go to the ride. Go get there. I think they start early in the morning. They give you a ride sheet. You tape it to your tank and you go. There's no instructions and there's no waiting for others. Just go. And while I'm trying to tell you about this, I am basically stalling for time to look for Lone Pine. Lone Pine is on the backside of... Yeah, it is on the backside. It's on the Death Valley side of the Sierra Nevadas. So it's not... It's just north of Death Valley National Park, but it is not down in the Death Valley Valley. That'd be crazy to ride there in May. It is actually between Cerro Gordo Ghost Town and Mount Whitney, which was named after Whitney Cummings, the very famous, funny comedian. And that's a total bullshit lie. All right. What else we got coming up here? June 22nd through 29th is going to be the Scooter Cannonball Run happening in Pendleton, Oregon to South Padre Island in Texas. And June 27th, the 22nd to the 29th takes that whole time for scooters to get down from Oregon to Texas, by the way. I don't think a lot of these guys go on the freeway. So that I want to hear about that. A few days on the road, avoiding freeways. That sounds like my dream life. June 27th through 29th is Motoblot happening in Chicago, Illinois. That is 3 days and 4 nights of music, motorcycles, tattoos, art, all the fun stuff, everything you could think of that motorcycle rally is and should be. Lots of music too. Damn, lots of music. And I was in Chicago when I very first heard about Motoblot. I was in Chicago. This had to be around 2021. And man, it was happening then. So I don't know how many years it's been happening, but I first heard of it in 21, I believe. Yeah. And so yeah, it was 2021, 2022, somewhere around there. And because I think it was post-COVID. It had to be post-COVID. And so yeah, I was just heard of it a couple of years ago, and I don't know how long it's been going, but it looks awesome. Like good job on them for doing that. And what else? Where's my show notes? The Greenhorn ride I have for sure to make note of that. Oh, Born Free 16 is also happening June 21st at Silverado Canyon, where it's always been for the last 427 occurrences of Born Free 16. All right, let's take a quick pause right here and do some What Looks Creative.
Just a bunch of dudes from Utah, man, taking factory junk and making it theirs whenever they can. Taking what's stalled, making it theirs. That's how they bring us the show they call Stockers for Squares.
I swear to God, I made a fart noise at the end of that song. That was Junkie Turdman making the intro song for Stockers for Squares. I miss Taylor and Slade and Stockers for Squares. Great automotive podcast. Go back and listen to it if you get the chance. I check up on those boys once in a while. Still on the old Instagrizzle. They're out at Bonneville. Well, they were out at Bonneville Speed Week. And I think that they turned their passion for automobiles into their earning for a living. So, all right, let's get into what's looking creative. For junk this week, I usually have 2 bikes, but F you, up your butt with a coconut. It's my show, make your own show if you want to have 2 bikes. And just call it 2 creative bikes. I don't want you like ripping off creative writing. So listen, what's looking creative this week? Well, from Bike XF, if you can believe it or not, a website that I used to avoid quite a bit because they are like the Bob Boylans of motorcycle, clout. And I felt like you had to like meet a certain standard to be on Bike XF. But now I appreciate some of the craftsmanship that goes into these things. And the I don't even know how to say this. I'm going to say HAXCH. It's the HAXCH, HAXCH Moto. They had an XSR 900, which already takes the cake. Those XSR 900s look pretty sexy, except for that weird thing on the frame that must have some electronic components inside of it, like a rack or something. Or is that the 700 that has those weird little boxes on the frame? I think they both do. Anyways, the XSR 900 already looks boss enough, but they turned it into a 90s sport bike. Why 90s sport bike? Because that's what's hot right now. Ask any of the babies who like to buy vintage bikes at Meekum, and they're all buying 90s sport bike. That's what's hot. It's like bell bottoms coming back in the 90s. They're making a comeback again, folks. Jenko jeans making a huge comeback along with rollerblades. Nintendo, Super Nintendos. Everything from the 90s is becoming cool again, including sport bikes. And so HAXCH motor, they have a HAXCH motor, HAXCH Moto, actually. I keep saying motor. HAXCH Moto, Yamaha Z. God damn it. Let me start over. What's the name of this bike? It's the HAXCH Moto Yamaha XZR 900 Thunderbolt. That's a mouthful. I don't want to be saying that 400 times when I'm telling people what my bike is. I'll just call it the XZR 900 and let them walk away with that. But anyways, this is a pretty cool moto, and the guy who builds at HAXCH Moto or HAXCH Moto, however the hell you say it, HAXCH Moto, is I looked at it and I was surprised that there were single piece fairings on these. I thought that's not something you would normally do with like fiberglass. Probably what he made the fairings out of. That's something you would kind of do with metal. So. Reading further about it, the guy made the entire body kit out of metal. It's aluminum. Pardon me, Tobor, edit that out.
I'll do no such thing, you loser. As a matter of fact, your wife is going to be pretty upset that you came to record and drink beer rather than going to the gymnasium as you had planned.
Bro, dude, listen. I'm going to tell her that you got me a Waymo here, that you hooked up with a Waymo. Right here. Listen, you're not going to tell my wife anything because I'm going to power you down. Don't look at me like that, Tobor. Don't look at me like that. Do not arm that weapon. Anyways, long story short, what was I talking about here? Yeah. Total metal. First of all, HAXCH. Let's what are you, Welsh? Put a vowel, another vowel in there besides that A. I think it's HAXCH motor. And anyways, it's a 80s and 90s mixed tape of sport bike styling. Thing was pretty sweet looking. I don't have it pulled up on internet. Do I still anywhere? Nope, I don't. So I'm not going to bother looking at it, but I'm just going to say how impressed I was that it was in fact aluminum. The problem with aluminum on your race bikes, you fall down and get a bend, and it can bend down into your tire or bend. I don't know, just bend, period. And the reason they usually make bikes out of carbon fiber or fiberglass, well, the old days fiberglass, the new days carbon fiber, is it just breaks off. And if it just breaks off, it's not going to bend down and rub against part of your bike the wrong way. But I did dig it, dude. Full-on metalwork, which is way harder to do, actually, than carbon fiber. And just more beautiful. I mean, it's just... seeing that bike naked with no paint on it was pretty extravagant. Seeing it with the paint that they put on it was pretty wild. It's pretty good. So it looks good either way. So that's the benefit of using metal. But yeah, the HAXCH, the HAXCH Moto Yamaha XZR 900 Thunderbolt. Say that 42 times fast, and I'll send you something from the bag of trash. Tobor, hit me with the sweet stinger, bro. And you don't have to edit it out, I guess, but sting me up, doggy. Okay. Well, this is another Junkie Turdman original played on the automaton. This is more of a song than a stinger, wouldn't you say? This thing's a few seconds long. I just wanted a little like... boo. Oh, God. Tobor loves this. Is it... That's what it sounds like in your brain, Tobor? Let's finish this abomination. All right. Great song. Thank you, me. I made something that Tobor likes because that's what it sounds like inside of his dual processor brain. Bike updates. Yes. So listen, one bike update is that I did indeed find the registration in one bike. That is pretty awesome. If you ask me, bike update number 2. Let me see. Is this bike updates? Is this weird news? What do I have on my weird news? No, I'll just do it here. We'll talk about bike updates. This is not necessarily a bike update, but it is. So the my FZ, I have not been able to get the carb unstuck on that thing, and I've been working on it now for... I just sound like a horse. I've been working on it so long. I think about a month and a half trying to get this carb unstuck. Little by little, when I have spare time, I let it sit, for like a week in Marvel Mystery Oil. So I mean, not that it's taken me weeks and weeks, but I let it sit one whole week, hoping that would loosen it up. There's one or two last things that I haven't tried, And one thing's going to be throwing the carburetor, cutting it off with bolt cutters and throwing it in the LA River. That's going to be the fun one. The not fun one is going to be getting out my heat gun and letting it sit on the carb for like 95 minutes. The reason being is like my theory about the heat on the carb is that sure, I think the outside aluminum, well, no, whatever the carb is made out of is probably made of aluminum, but so is the inside, so is the slide. You know, it's really lightweight, like shiny aluminum, and the outside is thick, dense. So I'm sure that the slide would actually heat up and expand before the carb did, you know, and I don't know what to do. Put ice on the slide and heat up the carb with the heat gun all the way around. It's a complicated thing, and I just want to get it unstuck. I've tried all manner of chemical for a while, 2 months probably, and soaking it for a week here and spraying it with like every single day for a few weeks there. So yeah, I was just trying to get this thing unstuck, the slide. It's not working, and it's not a CV carb either. So it's like I'm stretching the cable every time I turn it, and I'm like going to break the cable. And I can't find spares. This is a super crazy oil injection system. So it has one cable that comes in for the right off the throttle. It goes down and then it splits into two cables, and one controls the oil injection and one controls the slide. So bike one, still having troubles and still trying to find time to come out and troubleshoot it for the last minute until I throw a freaking 70cc kit on this thing, call it done. Bike number two, found some paperwork for it. Bike number three, probably need a carb. You know what? I think I have like 3 bikes that need new tires. So that's probably going to be $1,000 right there. Yeah. And looking for a scooter. So looking for a little scooter. Junkie is a cheapo. So you know me, if it's like $1,000 or less, that's in my wheelhouse. Most people want more than $1,000 for their stuff. So I keep running into these. I watch videos of these guys. They're like, I got the scooter for like $300, you know, and it needed a carb clean. The guy was like, it needs a carb clean and a new tire. And I'm like, that's my dream. You know, I can't find a scooter around LA for under like $3,000 that hasn't been in a crash, needs a tire, and has a dead battery. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, that'll be the $3,500. It only needs that stuff. So I don't know. I keep watching these videos on YouTube and reading forums where people are like picking up scooters and mopeds for like $100. Oh, I wouldn't pay more than $200 for a moped. Meanwhile, in LA, mopeds are going for like $3,000. So if you guys know what's good for you, you'll move here. You can live with me behind the dumpster, behind the Jack in the Box over there where Irwindale and Arcadia and Duarte meet. And we'll lead out of the dumpsters together, but bang, we'll make some bank off of these like $100 mopeds that y'all are finding probably in your local garbage. You're like, oh, grandma, this was just in grandma's trash can. It's brand new pook and it doesn't run, but we'll sell it in LA for like $2,000. So yeah, long story short, bike updates. That's how they're going. Why'd you get me running down this rant tangent? Yeah. So I am looking for a scooter though, if anybody's got a scooter, and I do have my eye on one and a buddy. It's from a buddy. So I kind of almost rather buy it from him and, help a buddy out than go for rando stuff. But I do have I'm going to say it 8th time. I do have my eye on a scooter. Those are my bike updates. Another thing, and I didn't know if this was weird news. I don't have it under weird news. So I guess I'm just going to say it now before we get into the main segment, talking about the Isle of Man, is that I really stoked. We did have, it took me a long time to edit it, like twice as long as it took to film it, which was a 2-hour film session. But I did get our Patreon Fiberglass 1 video up, and it's for It's on Patreon. So if you're a patron, you get to see how to do like a little fiberglass and its basics. If you're interested and you're not a patron, you can go there and you can buy it for, you don't have to be a member. I put it for sale for everybody, and it's literally the basics. And I'm glad people were interested, and I'm glad people are watching. It says we've got quite a few views, more than we have patrons. So I'm like, is that probably me like checking the editing and making sure it worked on YouTube 50 times? It's like, oh, you got 50 views like the first day. It's probably me looking at YouTube to make sure it was working, because everything seems to be jacked up on these APIs. But long story short, to get back to that, what we did is we just there's one video that has what to get, and it was I tell you exactly how much it cost me to go get it at a big box store, and I get you the supplies just for a basic job, basic starter kit job. And then this video that I actually made is like the basic of basic ways to lay up fiberglass. If you work with fiberglass and you lay it up, you can be like, oh my God, yeah, I did this in my living room on my belly with just wearing socks. It's that simple, and there's nothing to it. It's messy. And then I didn't even do as good of a job as I thought I was going to do. And then I started to think about it as I'm doing it, and I'm like, this is actually perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect to work. And so I was like, I'm going to show that. So yeah, if you are a patron and you wanted, there's a few people asking me about, making some replacement, like mostly side covers. Like that's what a lot of people have asked, and that's what I've made the most of probably is side covers. Made quite a few seat pans, tail sections, made a couple few fairings, made one or two front cowl rips off of an existing front cowl. I think I made my own, I forget exactly what I made. I made so many pieces out of fiberglass I just can't remember at this point. But we did a little side cover in this video, and we're gonna get into more complex stuff. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? Even I might want to like learn to do like vacuum bagging and stuff like that. So if I get the stuff to do that, I'll walk you through it with me on Patreon, and we'll learn together and see how it turns out. So long story short, it's the very basics on there right now. And any other DIY tech stuff that we have, we'll go on there and we'll add it. And if you're not a patron, we'll put the option there for you to buy it. And then you can come on and critique us and tell us how shitty it looks and crappy, and you never want to do it again, and it looks unprofessional. And that'd be awesome. So that's that. Let's take a real quick break. Let's wrap up the show. We're at an hour in. Let's not talk about Isle of Man. Yeah, screw it. Isle of Man, Schmile of Man. Let's take a quick break and come back with some creative writing.
Just did a show about an hour ago and everything seemed to be alright. Got two Milwaukee cheeseheads on and we talked motorbikes all night. Everything seemed to go real well and I think the show done good. And I can't wait to make this song for patrons because I know I should. Just got done recording just about 35 minutes ago. Sat down with the garage band and made the song, so fuck y'all, here you go. Got a jam along with my guitar and coffee shop and garage band. Everybody get together, clap your arms, clap your butt cheeks, and clap your hands. It took 10 less than 10 dang minutes, so I hope y'all can get along. Yeah, beefy.
Yay, thank you. That was by the old junkie turd, man. Hey, come on. Just because it's by me, you're going to boo it now? All right, we are going to talk about the Isle of Man, and I was just kidding. We're going to do about an hour and a half show, so we'll get into it a little bit here. Thank you for listening this far, and thank you for wasting a perfectly good hour with us. Let's wrap it up here with the Isle of Man. And I really wanted to talk about the Isle of Man. It's a fabulous, I watch it as much as I can. It's like Dakar. It's one of the most dangerous races in the world. And it takes place on this little island nation called Man. And it's pretty crazy. If you've been watching, if you've been following along, there's this guy. If you don't follow along, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's used to be, this is why, in my opinion, Giacomo Agostini is one of the greatest motorcycle racers of all time. And a lot of people say, oh, Valentino Rossi. And he has more championships than Rossi, by one, I believe. And who knows, Marc Marquez, and this is in GP only. Marc Marquez may, get his shit together and surpass Rossi if he races as long as Rossi did, because Marc Marquez got really close until he got injured. But there's a debates of all these guys who are the greatest racers, and specifically it somehow boils down to GP. And as if when we're talking about the greatest racers of all time, and we're talking about guys that like rig their cars, we are talking about Formula One. No, we're talking about stock cars. We're talking about British, touring car guys that do all this crazy stuff like that. The guys that drive Formula One, the cars are too fancy for them to know what they're doing, and cheating and all this. Oh my God, you cheat by spending $45 billion. What's his face is with Smokey Yunick that used to fill up the gas tank with a basketball or whatever and inflate it so that, the gas tank was full and his car weighed so many pounds. Then he'd deflate that, the ball, and he wouldn't be carrying as much weight as everybody else because, gas weighs like 6.5 pounds per gallon or whatever. So, I'm talking stuff like that, like some of the greatest guys, some of the greatest racers. They're not MotoGP guys, and they don't cheat like MotoGP guys. They are road racers. They are guys that have raced at the Isle of Man and at circuits, and that is why Giacomo Agostini stands out to me. Davey Todd, who is a newer guy to the TT. I think his first run was in 2019. But Michael Dunlop, even John McGuinness, these guys have raced on roads or raced at circuit racing, and also got cut their teeth, so to speak, at the Isle of Man. Back in the day, I can't even tell you who raced back in the day. All those names slip my mind. I was around back in 1907, but I forget. I think I was 27 in 1907. But I forget who used to race at the Isle of Man. I do know that like Phil Reed and John Bergman, Beauregard Sanchez, Redman, Pete Burnquist, and Cecil B. DeMille. These are all famous British road racers, especially the Sanchez guy. They got, they used to race and were famous for racing, but the most famous was because Isle of Man TT used to be part of the MotoGP or World Grand Prix, circuit of the, I didn't want to say circuit, but it was part of the program, for lack of a better term. It started out in, like I said, 1904. Let's go back to this, shingles-ridden child who works in the mines at night while he's not working in the fishing village during the day. And he has hoof and mouth disease, which I believe they actually did cancel the races for like hoof and mouth disease. Like, I don't know, I forget what year that happened in, but yeah, let's go back to this kid in 1907, because in 1904 they started racing there, and a lot of people back in the day would come here not only for the tourist trophy, but if you could prove that your car or motorcycle could go around the island, man, you had it made. This is back when people were driving. The Cannonball was something special because people would drive coast to coast just to prove the car would make it. In the United States, we didn't have a highway system until after, or right around World War II. I think they started making it because of World War II, when they saw how easily the rail systems were bombed in Europe, and that meant like you couldn't transport stuff back and forth across the country. They're like, we need a highway system. So prior to like World War II, we didn't have good roads. And just driving your car or motorcycle across the country was one way to prove that it was capable and stands up to the torture test of driving across the country with no roads. If you could imagine, get off the freeway and bomb it just through Southern California, through halfway across Texas to Oklahoma. Look at the sides of the roads of all the stuff you've been driving through. Like, you're bombing through riverbeds and ruts and mountain ranges, these tore up volcanic hills, or I don't know, paleotectonic. I made up that word because I'm on a paleo diet. So, but yeah, you're going across all these like crazy terrains, and gravel types, sands, grasses, scrubs, blah, 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 blah. And basically back in the day, you would have been on a wagon trail if you were in a car. So it's just amazing that to get across the country was one thing. To go and do it on Isle of Man, back when the average speeds were like 30 miles an hour, took you like 9 hours to do 5 laps of this island. So it was an endurance test, not endurance over a period of time from coast to coast, but an endurance test of an all-day drive. You're basically proving that your vehicle can run all day and still be going and win a race. So it's pretty amazing stuff. In 1911, I want to say, a lot of the stuff back then, there was a lot of 500, 350, 250, a lot of singles and twins back, in the early days. Most things were singles, and they were more or less bicycles. They almost look like bicycles with motors on them. And they started getting pretty quick. However, I do know that I forget what year it was, but and I'm not going to be bothered to look it up. You can't make me. But I do know that they were not, like, the bikes couldn't get up part of the hills in, the hills were so steep, they couldn't make it up the whole mountain course. All right. Me, I had to look it up. It says in 1905, there was a Gordon Bennett eliminating trial. And it was a trial. It was a race to eliminate motorcycles, and the day after for a team to represent Great Britain in the International Motorcycle Cup races. So I don't know if they tried to eliminate motorcycles to see who wouldn't last for the race the next day or not. But it says that the motorcycles could not climb the steep grade up the Snaffle course. So they had to the mountain section. So they had to use a 25-mile of the Gordon Bennett trial course. This is, of course, the next day. The next day, they're running the mountain course, and they're like, "Oh no, we need to go back and use this section that they used for the Gordon Bennett stuff." No steep climbs. Reminds me of when I first saw the TTX GP, which was the electric bikes race around, and climbing some of those hills. It goes from sea level to 1,300 feet, or if you're don't work in freedom units, that's sea level to 400 something meters. I think 400 meters. So basically, back in the old days, the very first race in 1904 of cars, I think the average speed was 33 miles per hour. Well, add 100 to that, baby, and that's the new norm. So crazy. And the first motorcycle cup race in 1905 took 4 hours, 9 minutes, and 36 seconds at an average speed of 30 miles per hour. So that's pretty interesting. Bikes doing well over quadruple that today. What's 30? Let's see. Is it really quadruple of that? Yeah, it's about quadruple of that. So anyways, so they've only haven't run a couple times. They didn't run from like 19. Let me figure these days out. They didn't run during World War I, so that would have been 1911 to 1917 or something like that. No, it says right here they raced in 1911. So from 1915 to 1919, there was no racing due to World War I, and it resumed in 1920. And there was no racing between 1940 and 45 due to World War II. So they came back in 46 and 47 and pumped it up because it kept expanding every year after that. And then I know that they didn't do it again in like, I don't know what years it was, but I know that there was like a foot and mouth disease from the cattle that they didn't want people bringing over. Well, I don't know if it was 2012 or when it was, but they didn't race then. And then they also didn't race for 2020 and 2021 because of COVID. And I know it's probably the last thing you want to do is bring a virus to an island. They didn't want to do it with foot and mouth. They didn't want to do it with COVID, but they'll do it with the sickness we call motorcycles. We love motorcycles. We can't get enough of them. Yeah. So the Isle of Man right now, if you're watching this year, there's always this guy that Wiggins used to talk about, Joey Dunlop. And Joey Dunlop had been the previous record holder until last year. The dude, I forget when his first race was, 1979 or something like that. I think he owned a pub in Ballymoney, Ireland. Ballymoney, a famous, I think there was like, I forget what they called him, but there was like a bunch of guys that came out of, North Ireland that raced, and they were part of a whole group of dudes that used to just like help each other out and race around there. And yeah, so in Northern Ireland and the Armoy Armada, that's what they were called. And there's still Armoy races today. It's where a lot of these guys that you see that are, coming in like 10th and 11th, they dominate some of these other road racing. And it's weird because like England and Ireland, and not so much the last few years, some of this stuff has been getting like, just finished because of, insurance. They can't get insurance policies, and that was something they were worried about with the Isle of Man happening. And so I know that it was a big struggle right after COVID to get insurance, and they got it, and they're like, we got to have the Northwest. It's kind of like qualifying. I know they qualify for the Isle of Man, but the Northwest is kind of like where you get like set up and you figure out who's going to be coming to the Isle of Man. And there was a couple other races, maybe the Scaries or 10 Degree or something like that. There was a couple other ones that they saved that year, but they've been dropping. And I want to talk about that because it's one of the few places you can race on actual roads. When I say road racing, I don't mean circuit racing. I mean actual town roads. And back in the days, back in 1907, when our little cabbage-eating dirty skinned boy was walking around the island, walking on, walking home from the coal mine, people were racing and people were still driving on it. And nowadays they close traffic at like a certain time. I think it's 4:00 when things start. They close the island down, or they have you use like special side roads. I just saw it today when I was watching the Superbike race or the Super Sport race. How crazy it must be. There's people driving their cars on all these like side streets right next to the track where people are blasting by them at like 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. So pretty nuts. I don't know what I just heard, but I heard a horrific sound outside of the studios right now. And it didn't sound like gunfire or cars. It sounded like a monster. So Tobor, I don't know if they're filming anything here in the Glendale area or if there's a freaking Jabberwocky outside when we go. Something has entered the building. We don't have security cameras in here, so hopefully we make it out to the car and we make it home after recording this fine. But yeah, sorry to get back to the Isle of Man. Yeah, really crazy that it's been losing support because of insurance underwriting. And also, it is the deadliest road race, I believe, in the world. It's called that. I don't know if... I don't have all the statistics from all over all these other races to prove it, but Joey Dunlop died, not here. And his brother, Robert Dunlop, died, also not here. and Robert's son William died. Also not here. None of these guys died at the Isle of Man, but they did pass away racing motorcycles. And Giacomo Agostini, the guy that we mentioned before, he used to race Grand Prix motorcycles. And back in the day when Isle of Man was part of the Grand Prix, or what would now be the MotoGP races, none of those guys have the cojones to come and race at the Isle of Man. I think Valentino Rossi did like a parade lap around there one time, and he's like, "You guys are nuts." And I don't think any other, MotoGP guys would make it. Like the little MotoGP stands for Great Princesses. So I don't think any of those guys would last on the course, and it's crazy that it used to be part of the MotoGP circuit. Ironically, Giacomo Agostini, who is the most winningest GP rider and used to race here around the reg, one of his best friends died in, I think it was 72, and he started to like petition against it. He's like, listen, he was against people, watching his friends die. And I think in 1977, I forget exactly when, I want to say it was like in the 70s when, the Isle of Man became not a, sanctioned by the world, whoever does the, like FIM stuff. It lost its status, and basically had to get taken over. They had to make a new racing organization to take it over. But yeah, so it did fall out, and people don't, it's not part of anything else except for the Isle of Man TT now, Tourist Trophy, and there's still a lot of road racing that happens. And these guys that, like Davey Todd and Connor Cummins still races, Ian Hutchinson, Mike Brown, Jamie Coward. I don't know about Kringle and a few of the other guys like Dean Harrison and all that stuff that you see racing at the Isle of Man. Dean Harrison, I think, does ride British Super BSB, British Superbike. So a lot of these guys are circuit racers, and they race in a regular series like we would consider over here in the States, like Moto America does, actual circuit racing. But then they also do these open road racings, and they do them all over so crazy. And these guys are just like nuts, just how crazy they go. They get up to speeds on the super bikes and the super stocks. They are getting up. They're doing like 136, I think, is the fastest average lap time. And there's about 3 hairpins that I watched them do this weekend or over this week that are about 20 miles an hour, maybe 30. I can't tell how fast they're cooking through there. They don't have radar guns on them on the slowest parts of the course, but they get up to at least 200. I remember I think it's the Solby Straight where they get to the fastest parts. And they go through those things, the super sports, which are the smaller bikes, anywhere from like 600 to I guess 890 is the Ducati Panigale V2. They are getting up to like 176 miles an hour, 177 miles an hour. That's pretty quick. And then the bigger bikes get up to 200. So, on the fastest parts, and then the slower parts, they are, like I said, 20, 30 miles an hour, maybe even slower than that. If I'm being honest, I don't know. Some of those hairpins are literally like 180-degree turns. So, yeah, average speeds are up in the 135s, I believe, or 136. I think 136.3 something is the fastest lap time. Of course, I have to look that up now because I'm a fool. Crap, I can't find it. But anyways, I'm gonna stick to my show notes here so we don't go too much over time. But anyways, yeah. So it's just nuts. Like I was thinking about it this week. The technology on bikes, we always think of like, whenever I think of BMW, I always think of like an old fat guy's ADV bike. I forget just how much they've come in the way of racing, and BMWs have literally been dominating Isle of Man and some of the World Superbike and stuff like that with the aero that's going on these things and all the technology. And you get them on here, and these guys, they were running from when Joey Dunlop did his last TT in 2000. He did a hat trick that weekend. He won the 180, the 125 ultra lightweights. He won the 250 lightweight, and then he won like the 600 cc class or something like that, or maybe the 750 senior or something like that. But I think he actually won the Formula One class. I think it was on a 750. Yeah. Long story short, he set the fastest lap that weekend at 120 miles an hour, 120 something miles an hour. And now we're doing 136 miles an hour. So it is pretty nuts. This dude, he passed away just weeks later, age 48 in Tallinn, Estonia, and was known as the man of the mountain, king of the mountain, all this great stuff. Had won 26 TTs, including those 3 that he did when he died. The year that he died was 24, 25, and 26. So he had been racing there since, I want to say, like 79 or something. I'm telling you. Actually, his fastest lap was in the senior, where he finished third, but he clocked a 1:23.87. So that was the fastest lap of the course in 2000, was 1:23.87. And he'd been racing there for a couple decades at that point, and won 26. And so that's a record just like the world's fastest Indian, and Burt Monroe, or whatever that guy's name was. His record actually stood for quite a while, and it might still stand for some things, and Joey Dunlop, his record has stood the test of time until last year, when his nephew Michael broke it and got 29 wins. When he was coming up to pass him, when he had 25, people were like, oh my God. And then he got, 26, 27, 28, and 29. Last year, he became the winningest guy on the mountain. So he has pushed a new record, and he's only 36, I believe. I got my show notes right here. He's 36 this year in 2025. So if he races for 12 more years, who knows how many wins he'll get. So far, as of this week, he's racked up win 30, 31, and 32. And we still have a few more races to go this week. It's been a crazy week with lots of wind and lots of rain. And so the races have been on and off. They've been cut short. And a lot of the racing's been canceled, specifically like sidecars and stuff. So we'll see. They'll have to make up this stuff by the end of the week. But yeah, they're supposed to pick up racing again, I think, on Friday. So I don't know if they're going to actually race Thursday to make it up if they got rained out or not. But so Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be the last races. But yeah, it's nuts. And so far, he's set at 36. He set this new unprecedented record, and I want to say it's because of some of the bike technology. This kid is crazy. I think he won his very first one in 2009. He's been winning ever since, and just climbing and climbing and climbing. And it's been fun. I got a book by him called Racer, I believe it is. And I got that in 2018, and I think I read it just months, or maybe I got it in 17. I forget what year I got that book, but it was talking about him and his brother and how they, their dad, and he's got another brother that doesn't even race, but they were talking about how they've built everything from scratch. His dad was a bar owner and a plumber or something like that. I forget what he does, but they're just like regular dudes that are just racing. And you don't really get, from what I understand, you don't really get much from the Isle of Man money-wise. I don't know if you get anything besides just the title. So getting sponsors and people to help you out is like a whole crazy thing. And yeah, he did it, and then like the later that year or the year after, whenever I got this book, his brother William passed away. So his brother William is alive in this book, and he's talking about racing with him and the way they would always go back and forth. And so it's pretty cool. But go check it out. Best $30 you'll ever spend, even if you didn't get to watch all of the even if it's already a weekend and you maybe been looking at highlights here and there and you're like, I don't want to spend $30, go spend the $30. You get to go backwards in time and watch the TTs for, I don't know how far back, maybe even the 90s. Whenever they have like, archived footage of them. So check it out. It's good. It's a good $30. And you get all this year and then everything before. So it was pretty cool. We're going to move on. We need to close the show out. We're almost an hour and a half in, and they're going to kick us out of the studio again. This always happens to us, but that's fine. I wanted to end the show with some weird notes and updates and weird news. I did want to say I was listening to the Moto podcast this week. Great. I think they were talking about the Honda 1100T. I cannot remember, but that's what my notes say. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's what they were talking about. The Rebel 1100T, the touring one that kind of looks like the Moto Guzzi Flying Fortress. Great analysis of that bike. The Rebel 1100 cruiser style. That motor, they were talking about the motor quite a bit. I forget what they said about the bike now, but the motors, what I made notes on, they were talking about what a great motor it is. And I'm going to say this motor or variants of it are actually so good. It is used on the Africa Twin. It's also used on the new NT 1100, which is why I have that written down. It's also such a good motor that it's used on their Pioneers, like their Pioneer Thousands, and has that parallel twin in it. That's how good that motor is. They've adapted it to freaking side-by-sides. So good analysis on that bike. That's how proven and loved by Honda that motor is. Come a long way on that thing. And to work with DCT, to work with side-by-side transmission, to work with all that stuff is pretty crazy. In other news, and this isn't quite weird yet, but we might cover this later. BMW, the 1300 GS is declared the best GS of all by Brian Honeycutt. And I think he commented on Alonzo Bowden. I saw one last week when we were at the Long Beach swap meet. And man, those things are huge. They are wide. They are crazy. And yeah, they're big. They're just big bikes, and I don't know. They just look funny to me. I saw an Adventure, and the 1300 and the Adventure, they look totally different. So the Adventure has this crazy big, huge panels on the side, and the regular one just, I don't know, it just looks a lot different. It almost looks like a slightly revamped 1200. So the Adventures really do change those bigger bikes, but they're just huge. They're massive. It's like my friend's Tiger that he's getting rid of. He has a Tiger 1200, Rally Extra Plus, whatever the highest level of kit is on the Tiger, and that thing's wide and huge and big, and the boxes are gigantic on it. He was like afraid to lane split on it one day. So yeah, this 1300s remind me of that, but apparently they are the best of all. And how could you revise and get worse? So good job, BMW. But the new slated Super Tourer that's coming out is they're coming out with the BMW R 1300P now, or they're coming out with a couple new BMWs. I had it. Here it is. It's the R1300 RT, which is basically going to be replacing the R1200 RTs that all the cops drive around here in SoCal. This thing's got so many crazy things. It's slated for 2026. It's got, automatic driving for you. Basically, it's got like radar all over it. The side panels, actually, the bodywork moves in order to deflect the air, around the rider. they don't call it DCT. That's Honda's dual clutch transmission, but they do have like an automatic option now, and I forget what they call that, but it's next level chassis design is what they say. And this thing like can shift the suspension up and down to make the turning, to reduce your rake and trail, dynamic, damping, whatever, all this crazy stuff on the chassis that you can adjust. It's got like the headlight thing where it's got radar on the front, and if a car is coming towards you, it'll dim them, I think. And if you're leaning into a corner, I think it'll brighten up the corners with like those cornering lights. Like it was super cool on the Ninja when that got them. And now it's like, BMW used to have that on the 1600. They have that articulating headlight that'll actually turn into the corner with you. Well, these ones do it now too on this one. Like I said, it's got body panels that move to vent the air. And the automated shift assistant. So instead of DCT, they're calling theirs ASA. So automated shift assistant takes away the clutch. BMW is famous for their, auto blipping, shift assistant and all that fun jazz. So I'm sure they just like next leveled it up, just like the Honda E-clutch. They probably built all that into the old, riding controls here, and it was just meshed all of their world-class design stuff together to make one awesome bike. And then, you got radar for cruise control and also for crash avoidance or front collision warning. It's going to tell you you're going to hit something. Will it stop you from hitting it? Probably not. But the dash on this thing's nuts. It's got audio. It's just crazy. So with the 1300s, we knew it was going to be coming. They got, and we don't really talk about BMW that much, mostly just to make fun of the ADVs. But the new 1300 RT that came out, it looks pretty crazy, and it's such a space age design when you compare it to the R1250 right now. And then on top of that, I can't shut that out without saying that a couple weeks ago we mentioned the R12S that came out. That's kind of like a cafe racer looking bike, but also for 2026 they're bringing back the Turbangs, only they're not calling it the R9T Urban GS, which spelled out Turbangs. They're just calling it the R12 GS, and it's basically the Turbangs. It's back for 2026, and it looks. I couldn't tell you what's new about the R's except for their 1200s now instead of 1170s or whatever they were before. So they're the new R12 variants of all this crap, and then along with the gigantic R1300s that came out this year. There's not much else to mention that I see worth talking about on BMW's website. But we'll get, let me see, anything else? Nope, that's it. So we're going to end the show here. Call to action is give us a review on whatever podcast platform you hear us on. Let us know if there's anything cool happening in your neighborhood. Let us know if we said the word of the week. You'll win something from the box of trash and or the box of junk. And then check us out. Our blog is creative-writing.com. You can contact us. All of the contact info is in the show notes, from our Discord to our email to our Patreon to our Reddit and all that fun jazz. Talk to you buttholes later. Get out, get riding, and Solstice Slam is coming up. That's all I'll say about that. You're going to hear about it on the next episode. But start planning for Solstice Slam, because we certainly are. And we're hoping to get it kicked off by the summer solstice. So we will talk to you guys hopefully next week. Bye. And Johnny, if you're out there on the road, this one's for you, bud. Hopefully we'll be talking to you next week. Bye.